The question of how much is Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren worth on their potential extension is starting to become answered as other players from the 2022 draft class are starting to make the market very clear for the Detroit Pistons.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons over the last 4 years, been a credential media member over the last 3 years, and I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. In today's episode, we'll be discussing, is Malik Beasley's absence from this team going to kill their season like so many people outside of Detroit seem to believe it will? We'll discuss it. And then also I want to look at the Pistons' first 10 games and give my prediction on how things are going to go for this team. We're going to start with the 2022 draft class market. Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey, that's their draft class. Their market starting to become much more clear as we watch all these other extensions come in. But before we get started with that, I want to let you guys know we have a 50% off deal going on at the Substack. Click the link down below in the description if you want to join the Substack for just $3 a month. You guys get all the film breakdowns and all the written content on all the other stuff I'm doing over at Substack for just $3 a month. Make sure you guys click the link down below so you guys get that deal. I appreciate all of you guys. And if you guys want to watch the Detroit Pistons play live with me and the rest of the Pistons fan base this Wednesday, click the playback link down below or go download playback and join the room. You'll be able to watch the game live, again, with me and the rest of the Pistons fan base. Let's go ahead and get into this. By far, the biggest news that's been going on over the last few days, over the last few weeks, is how much is Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey going to be worth on their contract extensions. Now, obviously, we talked about last episode how there's a report that came out that the Pistons were unlikely to come to an agreement with either of these players on a contract extension, and we got an idea into how much these players believe that they are worth, right? And we already talked about that. I am recording this 25 minutes before the deadline for contract extensions with the 2022 draft class officially hits. It's 5:35. At 6 o'clock, it is over. You can't extend any more players. Over the last 24 to 48 hours, we have started to see more players from that draft class extend, and I think what they are being paid is giving a very clear insight into what, as of this moment on October 20th, Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey are worth. I want to start with one player who's actually drafted in the 2023 draft class, Toumani Camara, who is one of the best defenders in the league, who also shot 37% from three, so a two-way 3-and-D player who is young. He signed for around $20 million a year. 4 years, $20 million a year. You stay on the Portland Trail Blazers. You have Shaedon Sharpe, who signed a contract extension, who was drafted after Ivey. He signed a contract extension for around $22.5 million a year. 4 years, $90 million. I want to bring up these numbers. I'm going to do this with every player so you guys will understand why I'm doing this. Shaedon Sharpe, he improved massively last year as a scorer with the ball in his hands. He ranked in the 68th percentile in the pick and roll as a ball handler, 71st percentile in isolation, 68th percentile in transition. He went from shooting 43% on layups the year before, which was terrible, to shooting 60% on layups this past year, and he finished in the 70th percentile when finishing at the rim. So he made big jumps as an on-ball scorer, and that got him $22.5 million a year from the Portland Trail Blazers. To add on to that, now you got Christian Braun, who signed a 5-year, $125 million contract with the Denver Nuggets. This is a guy who's helped them win a championship, who's been a legit contributor on a contending team. He averaged 15 points a game last year while being one of the most efficient players in the entire NBA, while also being a good defender, again, for a contender. And all he got was $25 million a year. Again, a guy who was extremely efficient, at 58% from the field, 40% from three, while being a good defender, 66 true shooting. Had a fantastic year, and he got $25 million. We already talked about last episode about how Keegan Murray got $28 million a year from the Sacramento Kings. And to add on to that, and we already know about J-Dub, who got the max, Chet got the max, Paolo got the max. We already talked about those guys, and those guys don't really matter here. But then you add on Dyson Daniels, who was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation this past year, who really broke out this past year for the Atlanta Hawks. He signed for 4 years, $100 million. And it was reported that he wanted to sign for 5 years, $150, and ended up signing for 4 years, $100, which is just, again, $25 million a year. That's their draft class. Now, let's compare it over to Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. These guys that I just named, every single one of these guys have proven to be incredibly or most of these guys, Shane Sharp and Kamar, maybe not so much because they played on the Portland Trail Blazers, but Christian Braun has proven to be a legit impact player on a contending team. Keegan Murray was a legit impact player on a team a few years ago that was the first seed in the West. Dyson Daniels has proven to be a really good, impactful player for the Atlanta Hawks, was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Like, these are guys who have proven themselves, and I believe are better players as of our top 100 players. I think the only player that I would not have in my top 100 out of these is Shaedon Sharpe. But every other player I have in my top 100 that I believe are legit impactful players, two-way guys that could not muster up more than $25 million a year from their respective teams. So now you compare this to Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. I'm going to start with Jaden Ivey because I think Jaden Ivey is the one that's easily compared to these guys because most of these guys signing are wings or guards. So we're going to start with Jaden Ivey. I want to bring up these numbers because, again, just like we looked at the numbers of these guys who made these big jumps forward in these critical areas, and that's the contract they got. If you compared Ivey's numbers to what Shaedon Sharpe did this past year, so what Shaedon Sharpe did with the ball in his hands, Jaden Ivey ranked in the 44th percentile as a pick-and-roll ball handler, ranked in the 21st percentile in transition, 11th percentile in isolation, 21st percentile at the rim, and he shot just 48% on layups. Jaden Ivey, apparently, according to what I had heard throughout the offseason, was very high in his asking price. And I had heard earlier in the offseason that they were looking at Jalen Green's contract. This article that we got from Mark Stein last week or a few days ago hints at the fact that they believe that there's going to be a big market for him, and he believes he can get a big payday. If he is going to be worth that type of money, a huge jump is going to have to be made. Not only in these areas I just brought up, but also defensively. There is going to have to be a massive jump from Jaden Ivey for him to warrant more money per year than guys that we just named, especially like a Christian Braun or a guy like a Dyson Daniels. Like, those guys are, if those guys can only get $25 million a year, there's no way that as of October 20th, right now, that Jaden Ivey is worth more than them. That he is worth more than $25 million. So, wanting to be around $30 million, if he is going to get to that point, you are going to have to see massive strides taken in his game. I mean, massive strides. And there's now you kind of understand why the Pistons and Jaden Ivey have not come to an extension. We'll get to Jalen Duren in just a second. Because they are far away in what they value, what they believe a correct eval is. And I think as of right now, when you look at the rest of his draft class, especially guys that were drafted around him, what I would say he's probably valued at right now is around $20 million a year. I think that's probably where Ivey is around and what I think the Pistons probably are offering him, somewhere around there. And if Jaden Ivey wants to bet on himself, nothing wrong with that. Perfectly fine. Go out there, play well, improve yourself, and get the contract next offseason. But I just wanted to paint for you guys like the climb I believe that's going to take when you look at him compared to these other guys who couldn't even get over $25 million a year from their teams while being incredibly impactful and I think are just better players at this moment than Jaden Ivey. Now you move over to Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren, in that article from Mark Stein and Jake Fisher over at the Stein line, also they said that he was looking at getting paid over $30 million a year. If Jalen Duren, again, when you look at the rest of this draft class, and also even Keegan Murray, $28 million a year, which I think is a bit steep for even Keegan Murray, but he was the one who made out the best at $28 million a year. You can kind of say that's Sacramento. It is what it is. But in order for Jalen Duren to reach that $30 million that he wants to get paid next offseason or eventually get paid, massive improvements will have to be made defensively to where he is actually a defensive anchor for this basketball team. He has to individually improve to a point defensively to where if Ausar and some of these other defenders aren't on the floor, they don't have to worry about the defense crashing to the earth. He has to be able to hold his own and massively improve in that area. And the other thing I would say about that he has to improve is that he actually has to become a much more consistent, legit offensive option. Not every now and then, not stretches. I mean, get to a point where not at this level, quite this level, But somewhere like this, where like Bam Adebayo is a legit, that is their offense legit. They go through Bam, and they trust for long stretches that if they go through Bam, they can get good half-court offense. If Duran wants to get to $30+ million, he has to become so trusted within the half court where the Pistons are legit running offense through him consistently for long stretches and saying we can have a good half court offense by continuing to do this. He has to do that and make massive strides defensively for where they're at. So as of right now, when you look at the rest of their draft class and where they're at and how much they got paid despite where the improvements they've made and what they've done for their respective teams, I would say that Jaden Ivey is valued at around $20 million, and I think Jalen Duren is probably valued around $22.5, $23 million. Again, even if you look at Jabari Smith Jr., who was paid earlier in this offseason, that's $22.5 million a year. And then you got, obviously, we know about the max players. Those guys don't really matter at this point. Obviously, the Bancheros, the Holmgrens, J-Dub, like those guys. But when you look at all these contracts, I think it paints a very clear vision of how much the Pistons players or their 22 draft class is currently worth. Doesn't mean that's what they'll be worth in 8 months from now. But as of right now, October 20th, if we are to believe the reports of what they want on their extension, what I have heard that Jaden Ivey wanted on an extension, if we are to believe this, and then looking at what their classmates got, I think it's very clear to see why the Pistons have not come to an agreement with either of these players. And if they want to get to where $30 million plus, some massive strides are going to have to come from both of them on both ends of the floor to warrant that type of money. Because right now, and again, I didn't even hit on this point. Which is probably one of the more important points, is that teams, it seems like, are adjusting to the new CBA and the second apron, where if you're not a true star, a legit star, they do not want to pay you this heavy money. They want to have these tradable contracts, and if you are not a legit superstar, if you are not a legit star, they do not want to pay you that type of money. So I think that's kind of being reflected in this. I think also the quality of player obviously is the biggest factor here, but I think that's a big factor in it too. So let me know in the comment section down below, how much do you guys believe these guys are worth now after seeing some of their classmates extend over the last 48 hours? Do you guys agree with my evaluation? You guys disagree? Let me know all that comment section down below over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Coming up, a lot of people outside of Detroit who are predicting the Eastern Conference standings, the over-unders on wins, are taking the Pistons under and having them to have a tougher season than I believe they're going to have, because for one reason, all of them have had the same reason, and it's the loss of Malik Beasley. So will Malik Beasley's absence kill the Detroit Pistons season? We'll talk about it coming up. I got to tell you guys a little bit about Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay your rent through Built, you can earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. Built has made everyday life feel more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use that link so they know that we sent you. Again, turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Then I got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. Let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, whether it's fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. And Skims changed all of that. Their men's lines offer something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I have my own pair, obviously, of the Skims boxer briefs, and I am hooked. These are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me, never lose their shape, and stay in place all day long. Whether I'm working out or just running a few errands, they're the most comfortable, reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. So shop Skims Men's at Skims.com. Let them know that we sent you after you place your order. Select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Again, shop Skims Men's at skims.com. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Let's get into, this is a topic that actually has been kind of frustrating me over the last week or so. Obviously, as the season gets closer, that's when you start to see more and more predictions from outlets, from individual people, podcasts, ESPN, all these places. As the season gets closer, that's when you really start to see this, these predictions coming out, the over-unders, the standings, who makes the playoffs, all this stuff. And so many, I won't say all, but so many of the predictions I see with the Pistons actually have them finishing 6th or below. I've seen a lot of it. And I've seen a lot of concern, whether it's Zach Lowe or Bill Simmons, whether it's ESPN, whether it's Bleacher Report. All of them have not been quite as high in what I think the Pistons could do this year. And they've all come back to the exact same reason. Every single one have used the exact same reason, and it is the absence of Malik Beasley. I want to start off by saying this. Malik Beasley absolutely did have a fantastic season for the Pistons this past year. The season that he had was legendary. He was fantastic. He was one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. He had one of the best shooting seasons ever. He did. To back that up, on spot-ups, he was in the 88th percentile. Transitions, which were mostly threes. You want to know a crazy stat about Malik Beasley's season? He shot 46% on transition threes. It's crazy. Shot 39% on off-screen threes. Shot 39% on handoff threes. He was, there's no sugarcoating it. He was fantastic as a shooter this past year. No doubt. And did his shooting absolutely elevate the Detroit Pistons half-court offense? It 100% did. You want some more simple numbers? On all catch and shoots, he was in the 89th percentile. What's even more crazy, on guarded catch and shoot threes, he was in the 93rd percentile. It didn't matter if he was contested or not. He was hitting threes at a high clip. And was that massively needed? Was it massive in the Pistons turning their season around? 100%. It was 100% needed, and it was respected, and we appreciate it. Everyone appreciated it. But I'm starting to see people go a little bit overboard with how much the Pistons season was made by Malik Beasley. I'm going to bring up a few numbers to argue against this. And a few other things as well to argue against these points. The first point I'm going to bring up is that the Pistons have Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, I'm a big Ausar guy. You guys see me give Ausar all kinds of credit nonstop for turning the season around. But Cade Cunningham is the reason why the Pistons were as good as they were this past year. Let's just keep that at the forefront here, okay? They have Cade, who I believe is going to show to the world that he is a certified, guaranteed, undisputed top 10 player in the world this year. I think that's going to happen. When you have that guy, you're going to be good, okay? Let's get that out the way. That's the first reason, is that they still have Cade. Reason number one. Reason number two is that while Malik Beasley did help the half-court offense, the half-court offense was not good still. It wasn't like he was carrying them from being a bad half-court offense to a good half-court offense. The Pistons were below average in the half-court offense. According to Synergy, they scored just 0.98 points per possession in the half-court. This would rank, I believe, 17th in the entire NBA. That would rank, 17th. They're tied for 18th right now this past year in the NBA. They were slightly ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies, and they were tied with the Atlanta Hawks and the San Antonio Spurs. The reason why I bring that up is Malik Beasley helped raise this team's half-court offense, yes, but they still were not a very good half-court offense, even with his shooting. My point here is that the half-court offense improving was not going to be contingent on Malik Beasley shooting that many threes. The half-court offense improving is going to be contingent on Cade Cunningham becoming a better finisher, on Cade Cunningham becoming a more efficient scorer all around, especially on pull-up threes. Thompson being there all season. That's one. And two, improving as an offensive player. It's going to come from the Pistons figuring out now, after a season's worth of evidence and a training camp, how they want to play Ausar, Duran, and Cade together within the half court. Whereas last year, you took some time trying to figure that out. Improvements from Ron Holland within the half court. That is how the Pistons are going to improve their half court offense. And to add on to that, the Detroit Pistons did add Duncan Robinson. It's not like they just, if they lost Malik Beasley and then just didn't replace him with any spacer, then I would share this concern. Because then you're okay, where are you going to get any of the gravity spacing wise from? Who's going to shoot threes then? Who's going to run these actions? Oh, they got Duncan Robinson. It's not like they didn't go out and get someone who does the same stuff, who takes the same type of shots. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like that Duncan Robinson is capable of having the season that Malik Beasley had this past year. But Malik Beasley wasn't capable of having the season he had last year. The season he had last year has only been seen by him, Steph, and Clay. No other player has done what Malik Beasley did this past year on the volume and percentage of makes. He was not going to be able to do that again. He was going to fall down a little bit to still being a great shooter, but just not one of the best we've ever seen. Like, that was going to happen. And you want to know who else is also capable of being a great shooter, but not one of the best we've ever seen? Duncan Robinson, who was in the 71st percentile on spot-ups this past year. On handoff threes, shot 36%. On transition threes, shot 50% with the Miami Heat this past year. And we have seen him have, and this was not even his best year with Miami, we have seen him have even better seasons with the Miami Heat. A guy who was in the 77th percentile on guarded threes, who was also very good when he was guarded on threes, shot 37% on guarded threes, shot 43% on guarded threes, who was ranked in overall catch and shoot threes in the 75th percentile. It's not like the Pistons didn't get somebody else who can shoot off the screens, off DHOs, off pin downs, who can flare off of screens with Cade, guard on guard screens, and then flare off if they decide to show or trap and get those threes just like Malik Beasley did. They got someone else who can do it. Oh, and by the way, that guy that they did get is in the 76th or 72nd percentile at the rim, 87th percentile on all layups. This is a guy who shot 63% on layups this past year, whereas Malik Beasley was not the greatest finisher, was not also the greatest passer, whereas Duncan Robinson, again, is a very good passer for his archetype. So, will Duncan Robinson shoot as well as Malik did this past year? No. I don't know. I don't think Malik was going to. But is he going to be able to bring other things that Malik just wasn't able to bring? Yes. Is he going to be able to bring spacing to the team in the similar type of ways? Take the same type of shots that Malik took for the Pistons so they can run the same type of action. They have that same kind of gravity. Yes. Will there still be driving lanes? Yes. Like, all of that's still going to be there. They did not just lose a shooter and just never replace him. They did. And here's a number I want to compare for you guys. Pick and rolls, including passes, this past year. Malik Beasley ranked in the 15th percentile when he had the ball in his hands running a pick and roll, including passes. That shows you that while Malik was a great off-ball catch and shooter and a great movement shooter, exceptional, when he had the ball in his hands as a decision maker, as a creator, he was not able to really do much, which limits your half-court offense. It does. Compare that, again, Malik was in the 15th percentile. Compare that to Duncan Robinson, who was in the 59th percentile when including passes in the pick and roll, scoring 0.97 points per possession. He is capable of doing other things that can help raise your half-court offense, that can give you versatility to your half-court offense that Malik just wasn't able to do. So I am not buying the idea that because Malik Beasley's here, the Pistons are just going to fall off the face of the earth. I'm not buying it. And lastly, my next argument for this as well is that the Pistons season turned around, not when Malik Beasley got with the team. It turned around in January when Ausar Thompson came to the starting lineup and they became a top 5 defense in the NBA. This year, they are going to have a full season of Ausar Thompson with Ron Holland, with Isaiah Stewart, with more size in the wings, with more size with Karis LeVert at the backup guard positions, with another year of improvement, hopefully from JD, with them playing faster. So they should be a top 5 defense from the jump, a top 5 to 7 defense from the jump. They should be one of the best fast break teams in the NBA from the jump. And that is not even taking into account potential improvements from those guys in the half court, from Cade, Ausar, Duran, Duran, and then also the potential versatility that they are now going to have within the half court. Yes, maybe they won't have a guy make 500 threes again. I think he actually made 400, but you guys get it. They won't have that. But will they have more guys that can dribble the basketball in the half court? Yes, with Karras and Duncan. Will they have more versatility with their shooters that can do more than just shoot? Yes, they will. So if the Pistons, we'll wrap it up here, if the Pistons don't end up having the season that I believe they will have, it will not be because Malik Beasley was no longer on the team. It will be because Cade doesn't make the jump I think he's going to take. It will be because Ausar doesn't make the jump I think he's going to make. Duran, Ron, that's going to be why the Pistons don't hit. It's not going to be because Malik Beasley left, because they replaced him with someone in Duncan Robinson who, before this past year, was considered better and is able to do other things than he can, who also added Caris LeVert, who has size, playmaking, who added more size defensively, and it allows them to play faster and gives them more versatility to their half-court offense that, by the way, with Malik Beasley this past year, still wasn't good. There you go. That's my argument for why the Pistons will be fine without Malik Beasley, and if they don't have a jump, it's not because they don't have Malik Beasley. I went on a rant there. I really, if there is an argument you want to make for the Pistons not having a good season, I really just push back against the just, oh, well, they don't have Malik Beasley, therefore, done. Like, if that's the extent of your argument, I really dislike it. So, let me know, comment section down below, or over on Twitter, at Ku Khahil. Do you guys agree, disagree with this? Where I stand with it? Where you guys think the Pistons will finish this year? Let me know, comment section down below, or over on Twitter, at Ku Khahil. Now, coming up, we will discuss the Pistons' first 10 games of the season. Always want to get out the gate fast. Where do I think they will finish after the first 10 games? Do I think their first 10 games are difficult? What's it going to look like? We will discuss all that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. The setup is super easy. You kept your own number, and then you're running in minutes. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, that's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA to say yes to saying no. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free to available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. The Pistons are opening. Oh, actually, I forgot to let you guys know again. Description down below for the Playback and the Substack. Substack has a deal going on, 50% off subscriptions. Playback will be live for every game that I'm not credentialed at starting this Wednesday for the season opener against the Chicago Bulls. Now, let's get into it. The Pistons, first 10 games of the season, every single year before the year starts, we do this in the offseason where I go through and I give my prediction for how the Pistons are going to finish their first 10 games, because you want to start off fast. You don't want to start off slow and potentially have the season, I don't want to say spiral out of control, but have you starting the season on a tough note, having the season start where guys maybe are losing confidence already, or like, oh God, what's going on? Well, are we not as good as we thought? You want to start out the gate pretty well. And this is what the Pistons' first 10 games look like. They start at Chicago, at Houston, then they play Boston, play Cleveland, play Orlando, play Dallas, then Memphis, Utah, and the Nets. That is their first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. Actually, the 10th game is the next one after the Nets versus the 76ers. That takes you up to November 9th. Now, I will say this. This is not an easy first 10 games of the season. I think there are games here where you will really get an idea of where the Pistons are at this point in the season, very early in the year. You will get an understanding of how they measure up against some of the best teams in the league. Getting the chance to play Cleveland early in the year, Orlando early in the year, Houston early in the year. If Philadelphia has Embiid, I think that's going to be a really good one to watch, because I think Philly's one of those teams that people should be just keeping their eye on, that if Embiid actually does stay healthy, this whole skinny Embiid, if he stays healthy, that's a team that will come from the rise from the ashes that were terrible this past year that will make the playoffs this year. So that's a matchup that I think Pistons fans should watch for. I think the Dallas matchup is a very good one as well, with Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg. I think that team's going to be pretty good over there in Dallas. But you also have some games I think that the Pistons should feel like that they should win. Again, starting off with Chicago, season opener. If you can beat the Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum, without an entire front court, that's a game you should win. The Memphis Grizzlies, the Utah Jazz, the Brooklyn Nets, those are games that you should win. So looking overall at the first 10 games, I would say there are 4 games that you should pencil in as wins. If the Pistons can't win these 4 games, they're not as good as we think they are. They should beat the Chicago Bulls. They should beat the Boston Celtics. They should beat the Memphis Grizzlies, and they should beat the Utah Jazz. And actually, I'll pencil in a 5th one. I miscounted. They should beat the Brooklyn Nets. That's 5 games in their first 10 games. So at the very least, they should have 5 wins, in my opinion. Now, you look at the rest of these teams. Let's start with the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets are starting a crazy lineup. I don't know if you guys saw this. They've got KD at the 2. They're starting Amen, KD, Steven Adams, Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith. They're going with an ultra big lineup. Ultra big. I'm actually really interested to see. I want to watch it. But I mean, because I bring that up because they could be experimenting with a lineup that is a bit unorthodox, and maybe that's the right time to catch them early in the season when they're still trying to fit KD into their plans, trying to figure out how they want to, run their team, the lineups that are best for them. So maybe that would be the best time, but that definitely will be a test. That game's also at Houston too. So that's going to be a tough one. Cleveland is going to be at home, which is good, but Cleveland is going to be on the back, or the Pistons will be on the back end of a back-to-back. Cleveland causes issues for the Pistons due to their size in the front court especially. Donovan Mitchell is healthy, Darius Garland. You got Jared Allen, obviously Evan Mobley. The Cleveland Cavaliers were the best team in the Eastern Conference this past year, and it wasn't close. So that will be one of those measuring stick games. If the Pistons can pull one out against the Cleveland Cavaliers, that would be huge. Then, after that, you got the Orlando Magic. That's another team that will be compared against the Pistons throughout the entire season. These two teams, I think, will be compared, and that's a team, again, maybe you get them early in the season with all their new additions, this new team. Maybe you can catch them early before they get their rhythm going. You can steal a win there. Or maybe the Pistons have simply proved to be a better team at this point than Orlando, and they can get that game. Dallas is another game at home. The Pistons do get a nice home streak in the middle of this, by the way. Boston, Cleveland, Orlando, and Dallas are 4 straight home games. So that should help the Pistons. And then the only other game that I think would be a tough one for them is Philly, if Embiid's actually healthy. And Philly, with Embiid, he just causes a mismatch because the Pistons don't have anyone that can guard him. No one in the league does. And when Embiid's healthy at 100%, if we are to believe that the skinny Embiid's actually going to work, then, again, that's just if he's healthy. If he's not, I think the Pistons should win easily. But if he is, that could be, a tough game for the Pistons. So, at the end of all that, what is my prediction for the Detroit Pistons' first 10 games? I believe they will win the 5 games I mentioned. I don't see them losing to the Nets, to the Jazz, to the Grizzlies, to the Celtics, or to the Bulls. So that gives you at least 5-5. Can they win 2 of those 5 games? If they can just win 2 of the 5, if they can handle their business and then win 2 of the 5 games against some pretty tough competition, you're looking at a 7-3 start. I think you're feeling amazing. Win the games you're supposed to, 5 of them, and win 2 of 5 against the tougher teams, you find yourself in a really good spot. 7-3 after the first 10 games, I think everyone would be extremely excited. I'll go ahead and make my prediction on the 2 games I think they'll steal. I think they will beat the Philadelphia 76ers. I'll go ahead and assume that Embiid won't be healthy. And I think they'll beat the Dallas Mavericks. So those are the 2 games I believe that they will get. I think they'll end up 7-3 after the first 10 games. I think all of us will be feeling pretty good about this team heading into mid-November. Let me know. Comment section down below. Do you guys agree, disagree? What do you guys think the Pistons' first 10 games will look like this year? But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe on the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.